and 10 of my friends, most of them were from Starehe. Stanley Kamau, Saibulu, and we registered. So Saibulu was a Maasai. And I asked him, what's the Maasai name for 10? Is there a Maasai in this room? Is there a Maasai in this room? So the Maasai name for 10 is called Tomon. So we said it's going to be called Tomon Limited. So we were giving 1,000 shillings every month. And so we said it's 10,000 a month. Looked like a hell lot of money, right? Then we became greedy and we wanted more. So all the 10 boys brought their girlfriends. So we were now 20. So we said it's called Tomon 10, Kumi Kumi, you know. Tomon 10 Limited. That was the first company that we started. So we were banking 20,000 every month. And I, being the business lead and business development person, I had to come up with an idea of what to do. So the first thing we did when we were in second year, we realized first years are coming and they need textbooks, right? And medical textbooks are very expensive. So I had to do the research of where to get textbooks at an affordable price. And in my research, I landed at a place called Ngara. How many of you know Ngara? And so there were second-hand books in Ngara. Where they came from, I don't know. But they were being sold in Ngara, one way or another. So whether we sold them or not, they were still going to be sold, right? And so I would carry a sack to Ngara and carry textbooks from Ngara to my room, and they were very heavy. You can imagine 10 lasts and 10 ganongs in your back. You understand? And so from there, we started selling textbooks. Then we realized they'll want lab coats, and so I went to Profogengo and asked him, we want to sell lab coats this year. What are the specifications you're looking for? And he said, most of these lab coats are tall, and the sleeves are very long, and then the formalin is making them look very funny, right? So we need to have a rubber band and make them tight. I went to Ngara, and there's a place where we have all these tailors in a very big stall. So I make an order of 200 lab coats. So we put rubber bands here. They came out looking very funny. I would not wear those lab coats. But I had to sell them. And so we sold the lab coats. And then by the time we were settling down, I still had some in my room which were not sold. But the bottom line is we made a clean 47,000 shillings profit from that business in 2 days. And as life goes by, where there's money comes politics. And so the Tomon 10 group members started politicking. And I resigned from the company that I started. I pegged my resignation, and I left. Without knowing what to do, it was very sad, but I said, I will not operate where there's no trust, number one. If there's an accountability issue, I would give accountability and say what did and what did. After all, we were profitable. Why are you asking questions? But that's life. You have to be questioned. So I resigned from my company and left. The company still exists today. Nothing has ever moved, and no business has ever been done. There's a time I was hoping to buy it back. I hope I buy it back one day. What I'm trying to tell you is some of these dreams start from way back then, and I was just going back to what Mastermind does. So from there, I went back to my room, lonely, deflated, sad, not knowing what to do. Facebook was picking up very fast, and there was YouTube and everything else, and I started Googling how to make websites, because websites were the in thing. One of our classmates, Kilonzo, used to design websites and would make a lot of money. He bought a car when he was my classmate, and he could drive to school. And I wanted to be like him, and Ibiza and all those things. And of course, release your stress and have a good time, because you have money that your parent doesn't know you have, and you've worked hard for it, right? So you blow it as much as you can. Have your corduroy that you bought from Gikomba, faded jeans, sharpshooters from Isili. You enter that club like you're a boss, you know. And so one of these websites I designed sat on that desktop for the longest time, and I asked myself, what can I do with this website? And so we started an online shop called mkoba.co.ke. And I was telling her that we were amongst the pioneer online e-commerce shops in this country. Mkoba did so well that I was literally one of the best brokers in this country. I knew Kirinyaga Road and Luthuli like the back of my hands. I was that guy, if you need something, I knew a guy. If you want memory cards, flash disks, 2.1 creative speakers, you want to assemble your computer, you want a TV card, I would sort you at the best price possible. So Mkoba became a very good thing. I would start, so we had designer colognes. I doubt whether they were designer, to be honest. I think they were fake. I think only one Indian figured out they were fake, and he made a lot of noise for me. I think he had born a Givenchy or something. I had to give a return policy. I returned to him. He returned, and I gave him his money. The others were very happy that they're getting designers at a third the price of a designer cologne. I felt good. So I would make money. So I ran Mkoba, I think, straight up KTN. For those who know, I don't know whether you were there at that time. Came and interviewed me in my campus room and say the boy who starts his business from college room. Money Matters on Business came and interviewed us. It was growing. The competitor at that point was called Dealfish. Dealfish, I think they sold out to I don't know who, and it became the Jumia that you see today. So had I continued with my Mkoba, probably I would be the biggest competitor to Jumia. But I had to fall short at some point. Because in my fourth year, I had to go for my electives in Kisumu, and there was no one to live here to run that thing. I was the business. The business was me, and I was everything. So that's the story of my university. I remember there was a Valentine session. That Valentine was coming, and then I realized the essence of a businessman is to solve problems. You identify problems and find solutions to them. So I realized most men were shy to carry flowers and be seen carrying flowers, right? And most were shy to deliver the flower. And so what I did in my strolls, because I lived in main campus until my 5th year, I said I'm not going to live here for my own personal reasons. So some of us prefer our privacy. So I lived in Hall 10, and so in my strolls towards Arboretum, I met this guy who was selling flowers at the corner there. There's a Shell currently there. I told him, I have this big order for flowers coming up on Valentine's. Our class has 300 students, and they might most likely buy flowers, but I don't have the capital. So trust me, I'll show you where my room is. And University of Nairobi students were never trusted those days. Because I remember there were instances we would take a cab from town and tell them we are going to Lower State House Road, and they believe you. Then once you jump that fence, you don't pay. That's what university students used to do, right? I don't know whether that still happens. I'm not encouraging anyone to do that, so don't quote me. So he gave me flowers. And so I went to class and told them, guys, I'm that guy. So I had this suit that I'd bought from Isili, nice, black, with white and a tie. Slim tie, very decent. So if you have an order, you make the order, I deliver for you. I knew all rooms in Hall 12, Hall 4. I don't know whether there are still ladies' hostels anymore, box. So I delivered flowers, and I made my cash and moved on. So I solved a solution to the shy boys. And I made people get to know each other, and I matchmaked people. So that's me. And that's what I've always done. I don't know if I've answered your questions. That's Maxwell. Right? Med school was med school for me. Being one of the top students from my primary to high school, then you come to med school and meet brighter people than you. And some of us were not we were not good in theory, right? I was good in chemistry, physics, mathematics, accounting, figures, concepts. Then you come and give me, it's called Ganong. Jesus Christ, I hated the sight of that book and all the formulas that were there. and the acetylcholine, and all those things, and synapses, and some people in discussion groups would make it sound so simple, and you're wondering, how are these people understanding this thing that I cannot understand? But we needed to get 50% plus 1 in order to survive. Luckily, God was on my side. I managed to sail through with 51% and above slightly for 5 years without a supplementary or a receipt. I thank God for that, because I think it would have been very devastating if you're never used to failure in your life, right? And a lot of my friends who got supplementaries never picked themselves up, because you're used to winning, right? But life tells you sometimes you can fall down. You need to dust yourself and pick yourself up. So I survived, graduated in 2010. For the first time in the history of doctors being posted, we were the first people not to be posted on time. We had a 4 months delay in posting. I think today is worse. So we were posted in April. We actually literally had to picket for our posting orders to be released. I got my small bed sitter in Kiambu town, because I'd balloted. We used to ballot for internship centers, and I balloted for Kiambu, and that's why I started my internship. I will leave the rest of the stories for the questions so that I don't talk things that don't make sense. I'm normal like any of you. I'm just any other person trying to find something to do in life. And the little that I'm doing, trying to make it better for the future of my children and my family. I've made mistakes. Some of them are very grave and bad, I'm not proud of. Just to tell you that we are all human beings and no one is perfect. That said and done, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've served my purpose for coming here today. Thank you and have a good evening. Is that okay? Right? You don't seem to be happy. Is there anything else I haven't said? Right? Thanks. Asanteni sana. Hi.
Thanks, Doc. Let's another round of applause. Thank you, Doc. So that was just giving us a taste of what's to come. So I sifted through 277 responses of the Google form. And so he's going to answer a bunch of your questions this evening. But before we go into that, I'd like to introduce myself. Hi, everybody. The room is full. I don't think it's been full for any other of the talk. Anyway, I don't want to say anything about the previous speakers, but this is really a full room. Yeah, so people are really excited that you're here. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for really being who you are. I think when people let their light shine, then they give other people the permission to let theirs shine. So thank you. And thank you to the audience for joining us. I think it shows such great commitment to your own development. And I hope this session is everything that you expect for it to be. So we'll jump right into the questions. I know that this audience is a mixed bag. It's not just medical students. There's students from dental school. Is there people from dental school? Just by show of hands. Okay. Is there? There is. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thanks for coming. There's people from pharmacy school, I think. Yay. Yes, clap for them, medics. And then there's people from nursing school. Is there? Oh, great. Great. Karibu. And then med labs. Is there med lab students? No? Okay. And then I think the majority of us are medical students across the board. Yeah, so welcome everyone. Yeah, so I think, Doc, you started from far along your journey, med school. But I think, and many of us will agree that I think home is where people become what they become. So maybe just take us back to your childhood. What was that like? Were you a rich kid? Is that how you made it in life? Just to be honest, I'm an god. Yeah. So just tell us, where did you grow up? What that was like? What your upbringing was like, and then your education pre-med school, and then for med school, I mean, you talked about your business pursuit. Sorry, I'm just so that you answer many questions at once. But yeah, what was medical school like? What did you enjoy? Were you an A student? Yeah, all of that. Just tell us.
Okay, thank you. Um, I was born in a hospital called Homa Bay District Hospital. That's where my placenta was buried. My mother was 18 years old at that time. The parents could not raise money for her to go to her A levels, but she had got Division 1, that's like an A plane at that time. And so when she got Division 1, Barclays was just setting up in Kenya, and so she was hired by Barclays Bank as a clerk. And so my mother rose in the banking industry from a clerk to, by the time she was being retrenched, she was like a branch manager. Being born in Homa Bay, I think when people hear your parents worked in a bank, they think you owned the money. That's not the reality. Initially, my mother lived in a 2-roomed house. We were not poor, so to say we were poor is a lie. I had a decent life because my mother provided what I needed to be comfortable. And then from there, we moved into a 3-roomed house, so bedroom, living room, and like a small kitchen in Homa Bay. If those people who know Homa Bay, there were staff quarters for a school called Sango Academy. That's where I went for my primary, second part of my primary school. That time we were 2 boys. Currently we are 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl. My mother was married as a second wife. So my father had 11 children, 7 and 5, yes. So 11 siblings. I was the book type of guy when I was growing up. My brother was the playful type. So he would always break windows out there, break the neighbors' bicycles because we didn't have bicycles. He would always climb trees and come back home with injuries. I was a clean one, always in the house, reading a book, nothing dramatic to talk about. So I did nursery school for 1 year. That was when I was 5. I went to Homa Bay Primary School, so from class 1 to 4. Nothing dramatic, only one incident where we ate bad meat, and I had a running stomach, and of course I couldn't control, and I pooped on my shirt in front of the whole school, and my self-esteem was messed for a very long time. And I could not talk, and so that made me even more shy and drew me more into my books than anything else. And so to prove them wrong, I proved them wrong by becoming better in class than anything else. From class 4, I went to Sango Academy, which was now a private school. 5 to 8, would walk home for lunch, come back in the afternoon. There were boarders and the day scholars. I was a day scholar. Became a boarder in class 8. Nothing much, being number 1, number 2 to 4, oscillating in between those positions. Finished my KCPE in 1999, went to Maseno School. No, I was called to Nairobi School. But then my father said, I can't come to Nairobi because I will, ntaribika, you know. Ukitoa paka, uko ocha uilete town, itaanza kuzunguka kila mahali. And so he said, I'm not going to allow you to go to Nairobi. So I stayed at home for about 3 weeks when everyone had reported to school. Because my father was a high school head teacher, so he was trying to talk to his colleagues to see which school I could get. But he was told, wait until we see those who will not report. So finally he comes home with this calling letter for Maseno School. You look at the calling letter for Nairobi School vis-a-vis the calling letter for Maseno School. It's like heaven and earth, stark difference. One is a duplicating paper, asking you to come with a slasher and a hockey stick. The other one is purple, pink, yellow, different colored letters telling you to come with a cricket bat and cutlery and laundry bag and pajamas. I'm like, what's going on here? And swimming costumes. And you want me to go to this other school instead of this school? I'm like, no, you're playing with me. And then he stamped his authority, and I think I thank him where he is. May his soul rest in peace for that day. So I landed in Maseno School at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. 3 weeks later, and I enter school where everybody's running, and you think, what's happening here? Is there a fire? And they're all running in different directions. I got confused. I'm like, what's happening? You know. But that was Maseno School. When the bell rings, you start running. And you run whichever direction you're going. So I just entered when people were going for games. And they were running. I'm like, okay. You know, because you're not used to that. But that was Maseno. So I'm late. And so I panic. In the first exams of my first Form 1, in my panic, the devil lied to me. And I sneaked some papers in the exam room because I wanted to cheat. And one of my desk mates snitched to the teacher, and I was given a very hard slap. I have never forgotten. Some decisions make you. And I thank him for having snitched, because had he not snitched, I would have thought that is the way to make it in life. So I was number 139 out of 200 and something for the first time, even after cheating, you know. So the shame of having cheated, in my second term, I came and said, I will show these people that I am not stupid. And I became very straight. I was a chapel boy. I would go to the church in the morning. At lunchtime, I literally prayed the number of times I ate my meals and read books. It was library, chapel, hostel. Library, chapel, hostel. Until the chapel captain chose me as a chapel boy. I would clean the pews, serve Holy Communion, and that's what nurtured my religious. So I'm very close to my God until to date, and I've never forgotten that. So I came from number 139. In my second term, I became number 4 without cheating. And I never looked back. So that was Maseno School. From chapel boy, I became a letter boy or a newspaper boy. I became a senior boy, for those who understand the administrative structure of Maseno School. Then I was chosen one of the top 5. Top 5 is like the big cabinet boys. The ones who, when they walk somewhere, people shiver and fear. And in my lean body, the school saw it fit to make me a dining hall captain. For reasons I do not understand. But in retrospect, I think God was preparing me to be a person who can do events and logistics and organize things. Because I had the mandate to feed 1,000 students in 30 minutes. Lunch break was 12:30 to 1. You need to be seated in your classes from 1 to 2 for the after lunch prep. Then your classes start at 2. So as a dining hall captain, I had to feed 1,000 students in 30 minutes with 3 queues. And we made it work. And so that's where I was nurtured to be a leader. From Maseno, I go back home to Homa Bay. I was a very good accounting student. We are those people who, when you're lifting your head first, Maxwell is walking out of the room. And you think he's going to the washroom, but he's finished. So you have to give that panic to your competitors, you know. And so I said I literally wanted to do BCom. Because my mother, having worked in a bank, the newspapers I would see was all the CEOs of banks, and I wanted to be a CEO. And so being a CEO for me was doing BCom, MBA, you know, CPA, because that was the CV I could see in the newspapers I used to read, and the magazines. Adan Mohammed, Martin Oduoro Tieno, Awonda, if you know those names. And so after that, I said I want to go to Strathmore, because Strathmore was the in thing. So I find my way to Strathmore. That is the first time I come to Nairobi. Looking left, right, and center like I don't know where I'm going. My mark and point of reference in Nairobi was Nation Center. So if I get lost, I would find my way to Nation Center and then start figuring my way around to Madaraka and Langata Road. So I went to some hostels in Madaraka roundabout, classic hostels. They're still there. So that's where I started life. So I did my CPAs. Strathmore's a good place. It was very structured, very good. Then 2005, I come to University of Nairobi and I find a whole different lot. Do you? The world will adjust. Nobody cares.
So how did we go from wanting to be a CEO to finding yourself in medicine?
Oh yeah, thanks. So when results came, I got an A plane. Top 100 in the country, top 10 in Nyanza province. There's a part I've forgotten. So during that time, Nation Media took us for a talent search program. It's like a placement for the top students across the country. Kiboro, who's the chairman of Family Bank, that time was the CEO of Nation. And so we were taken to KCB training college, we were told. So we worked in Nation Media across all departments. Printing, press, distribution, newsroom, everything. So I know how the media works, top to bottom, from that experience. But my father asked me, what did you choose? I told him I chose BCom. I said, no, you can't do BCom. He said, why? He said, how many students do and graduate BCom in a year? We started calculating the number of universities and we found at least 2,000 graduates every year. That's on a conservative level. He said, have you thought of being a doctor? I said, no, never. But he said, no. There are only 98 students being selected for medicine in University of Nairobi. And there are only 98 in Moi and 100 and something in UON. So every year we only graduate 300 or 200 doctors and they are guaranteed a job. So my son, go persevere and become a doctor. Once you become a doctor, get a job, then you can do what you want to do after. And being real to myself, it made sense because I saw people were still tamarking with their BComs. I said, fine. So that's how I ended up into medical school. And that's the second decision I thank my father for having made for me. One was Maseno School, then the second one was this one for medicine. So yeah, I'm in UON. We are in houses. I don't know whether they're still in houses. First years were in houses next to State House. You know, you feel like you're gods. But you have to walk the trek. You don't need a gym when you're a first year regular. You used to call them reggae boys. You know, so you walk all the way to Millennium Hall. It was 2 or 1? 2. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out Nairobi. At least Strathmore gave me a preview of Nairobi, but now I'm in the CBD. So every evening we're walking in town. And me being me, I'm more of a discovery type of person. I want to know more. I want to discover more. And so I found myself knowing Luthuli, Kirinyaga. I would discover things that students don't know. And that's why I would be a broker. I connect you with your problems. I find solution to your problems. And so, yeah, we partied hard. I was not the bookworm type of guy. I would go to ADD for about 30, 40 minutes because everyone was going to ADD, basically because of peer pressure. But I needed to read, so let me not lie to you. Don't follow me when it comes to schoolwork. I might mislead you. You have to understand and know yourself, right? Yes, I work better in the morning. I would wake up at 5, read till 7, sleep a bit, go to class. And that's what I needed. Group work was not my type of thing because it gave me a lot of pressure, but towards the end I needed to do it. Looking back, maybe I should have started earlier, would have really helped me. Yes, they really come in handy, to be honest with you. Yeah, so that was med school.
Yeah, so you finished med school, and so I'm in final year of med school, and we're done in about 7 weeks. So your seat, where did you say you used to sit?
There.
There, where
Yes.
where the girl is sitting in glasses. So a few weeks to finishing school, what was the plan? What was the, I mean, everyone who's, like, I'm about to finish school, and I know I have a big plan in my mind, and it changes, but what was the goal? Like, what were you, were you still pursuing the CEO dream, or were you gonna be a physician or a surgeon?
I think I still needed to be a CEO. I don't know. I kept saying I would rather be a CEO of cobblers.
Really?
You understand? I mean, how many people use the service of a cobbler? Do you know it's an industry that's not tapped? Can I give you the figures today? assuming you change the sole of the bent sole shoes for all men in this room and charge them 1,000 shillings, how much would you make? You understand? Everyone, so I see some people look at their shoes. Because there's a problem there that needs to be sorted, right? Yes, and that's what businessmen do. We solve problems of our daily lives. So cobblers, nobody has professionalized cobbling. For the longest time, cobblers are left for that guy who people without ability, you understand, seated somewhere, either in a wheelchair or something. And can we professionalize cobbling? Make it a decent thing that I know today if my shoes need something to be fixed, there's this brand called Shoemax. You understand? So you have a Shoemax shop that you can take your shoe and they're fixed. Is there such a business? We don't have. So if you have money, you throw your shoes. If you don't have money, you look for that person in a shop somewhere in a veranda. So that's what I thought, that, I could always professionalize this and also have a very professional. There are people who buy blue shoes, purple shoes, and they don't know how to take care of them.
No, are you serious? Like, this was the idea. You were going to be...
Yeah, that's what I was going to do at some point. I just didn't do it. Somebody can still do it and run with it.
Yeah,
but it's a business idea that works.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the truth. I don't mind sharing. You know. Yes. Because I buy blue shoes, but my people at home don't know how to take care of blue shoes. Then they fade after 3 days, and you can't wear them anymore. But the shoe is still nice.
You're really passionate about this idea. Maybe you should pursue it.
One day. So
now
my plans was I just needed to be independent. Okay. I was tired of asking for money from my parents every month, and I just needed to be myself in my own house, making my own decisions, and so that's what I was working for.
You were not going to be a clinician, or however you were going to be independent.
I was passionate about my practice.
Yeah.
I could not wait to start practicing. I could not wait to do that cesarean section on my own.
Okay, so tell us about that. So now you go to internship.
So I go get a bed sitter in Kiambu town, small room. I don't have a mattress. Then I realized, whoa, university really spoiled us. I forgot that even that mattress I used to sleep on wasn't mine. So I only had that carpet I bought with my first help, a box and carton of books, my computer, my TV card, my beddings. And that's how I started life. In all honesty, I actually slept on the floor for a week on my carpet. In a reality, I'm not saying this to please anyone. You understand? Then I bought a mattress later, then a bed came later. And so I start life, then we get posting orders. I go to Kiambu District Hospital. And finally, unaitwa daktari, and I never felt so proud in my lab coat. I had this very nice fitting lab coat, custom made for me, Dr. Okoth, M.O. M.O.I., medical officer intern. I never felt proud like that in my life. It's the way you watch the movies of an American army and saluting each other. It's the pride of serving your country with everything you have. It was the best period of my life. So I start with obs guy, because I just needed to know how to open the abdomen and release a child out. And they come out crying. Because from there you'd know how to suture, you'd know how to resuscitate, and you'd know how to take care of the medical conditions. And so I started with maternity. First night, you're called in the gynae ward, and you have about 10 MVAs to be done from Madare, and you can't sleep, and you're just like this, you know. But you have to save a life, because some of them come gushing blood. So amazing that working 36 hours, you could not realize you worked for 36 hours. And so I did it so well that when all the nurses in Kiambu had patients, they would send them to me. I was an intern, and I could take care of the OCS. I could take care of the magistrate. When they came, they looked for Dr. Okoth, you know. And I dedicated my time to the surgeon, that every time they were going to theater, I would go there, be there, because I wanted to learn how to do these things. And so that really worked to my advantage when I later opened my practice, because I could almost do the whole spectrum. Things have changed nowadays. It's not the same anymore. But also to give you feedback, as also an employer of doctors, I see a lot of half-baked doctors being churned out there, because their attitude does not allow them to go and learn. We get doctors who cannot even suture. A doctor who cannot even place an IUCD. You understand? Something needs to change. And you seated here today, more than anything else, please take your internship with the seriousness it deserves, because that is what differentiates a doctor and a quack doctor. Today, a doctor is not the certificate. It's your practice. And there are patients I saw 10 years ago who still call me to date because you have to put in the work. That is what separated. And that's how when we started Ruai Family Hospital, our clients were loyal and are still loyal. Actually, the most loyal clients are the ones we started with. I get messages that, mimi nilianza na nyinyi mkiwa kwa ile, unaona huko welcome kwa stage. That's what they tell you. Because they've seen you grow and they've seen how you've served them. When it grows, it becomes bigger because it's not about you anymore. It's multiple of other people who don't share the dream, but you still have to be there to fix it, right? So my request for you guys is, please, your internship is a make or break. Paperwork is here and there to give you it's like a map, you know. But that map is a blueprint of a drawing that needs to come up, of the building that stands out. So your internship is what makes you who you are. It's what makes you as a doctor. Then after that, everything falls in place. Because I realized after internship, I would have understood Ganong better, right? There are things that were now making sense that were not making sense. I was probably cramming them then just to pass examination. And so your practice is much more important than anything. Okay, the bookwork sets a foundation because you cannot reach that practice without your bookwork. But please, if you get to your internship, don't be those people who pass by. Alipita akienda, you know, be there on the ground.
I think there's something important to be said about your journey and how, haujabahatisha, you can see a string of just a real commitment to do well for yourself. Why are you nodding? Yeah, I mean a real commitment to be a person of integrity. You know, the lesson you learned in Form 1 about cheating. And I think it's important for us young people sitting here to know that there's no shortcut. This thing you actually have to work hard for. So when we see Dr. Okoth sitting here looking shiny, there's been a process. So I think that's something more young people need to be told about, just the process and the facts of the matter. That this just doesn't happen. It's been years in the making. And so maybe now we could jump into now birthing the vision of RFH. So you told us about your internship experience and sleeping on the floor. We believe you slept on the floor. And then I think a big part of your story is your, like how you see entrepreneurship as solving a problem. You're not just trying to make money. The thing is solving a problem. So maybe now, how do we go from internship to where we see, okay, there's a problem here that I can solve, and then figuring out how to solve it.
And it's good you've said that. Nothing comes easy. One day I hope to write a book of the journey that has been to what RFH is today. The broken dreams, the anxiety disorders, the depression to deal with, you know, and there are things I would never wish to go back into. But there's no shortcut, I tell you. I tell my staff every day, if I come with this car, don't think I just got it today. It has been a process. Even for the dealer to trust me to give me a car and give me a plan to pay for it. Your name is everything more than anything else. That's number one. If you enter anything with the idea of making money, you will fail. And that I will tell you. You will fail and fail terribly. Solve a solution and the money will follow you. But if you enter with making money, you will thoroughly flop. And flop to a point you cannot be helped. You'll have buried yourself. So how is it birthed? So I'm an intern. And in my gynae clinic, we see women coming in with fibroids, and they're symptomatic and bleeding. But the saddest part is we tell them we have to book you for theater, and the booking list is as long as 2 years down the line. Truth. And you talk to the people in surgical rotation, and they tell you their booking list is 3 years down the line. What does that tell you? There's a problem, right? Why can these people seek these services somewhere? Is it that there are no hospitals, or is it that the hospitals that are there, they cannot access them? And I asked myself, what does it cost to set up a surgical theater? What does it cost to have an ultrasound machine? Because we could send patients for lab tests outside the hospital for UECs, UECs, LFTs, lipid profiles, because in Kiambu town there were a lot of diabetics and hypertensives. And that was a baseline study for them every month. And they would spend a lot of money, and they say, there's a problem here. And so I say, I'll have to set up something, because these people cannot wait for 2 years. If you call them after 2 years, they'll probably be dead. So somebody has to sort them somewhere, right? The reason why was we had one theater at that point, and our maternity was busy. So when you have fibroids and you have a mother in fetal distress, which one comes first? Fetal distress, right? So you'll keep pushing these surgeries until they become an emergency. So either you have a stab wound or a ruptured appendix or a burst ovarian cyst, or that's when they will find theater. Otherwise, they will never find theater. And so that's where the idea to set up RFH comes in. And my mother had just lost her job at that point. The bank was retrenching and downscaling in their staffing. And I know she had her terminal dues somewhere. And so I approached her and asked her. I didn't tell her I want to start a business, because my parents are the traditional parents. I mean, work hard, go to masters, become a consultant. I remember when I was running at Ruai family and we were struggling those days, you're like, why are you struggling? We go and queue to see doctors for 3,000, and I'm seeing 20 patients in that queue. You'd be making that money, I said, everyone has a role cut for them. So I borrow money. I want to buy a piece of land in Kitengela. I had this dream to own my own house at that point. I remember in 4th year and 5th year, we had these architectural drawings we had downloaded from the internet, and we say, one day I'll own a house of my own. It was such a dream that I wanted to have a house of my own. And so I say, first I have to buy land, right? So me and my friend Peter, who was my roommate for the longest time, we looked for some pieces of land in Kitengela. They were owned by the museum circle or something, being sold for 400,000. And so I approached my mother, who has money somewhere. She has no idea what to do with it. She was not business-minded at all. She was stuck up in the bank for all those 25 years or something. You understand? Day and night, morning to evening, weekends except Sunday. So you don't even know what opportunities are there. Now you have these final dues in an account, and you're trying to figure out. And you see, that's how people lose it, because you are all over trying to look for an opportunity. Remember, she went and built a very big house in the village that would probably give you rental income, and return on investment didn't make sense. And I remember telling her, and she could be like, I know what I'm doing, Yeah, we laugh about it every day today. So I borrow, and lucky, funny enough, I don't know how it works, she gave me that money. So I paid half in Kitengela, and I started looking for a place. And so the idea was either to go to Pipeline or Ruai. The Eastern Bypass had just been built, and so I find myself in Ruai and fall in love with Ruai for the first time. I pay the deposit.
Did you know the area? Why Ruai? Why were those the options?
So Pipeline was very heavily densely populated.
Okay, so it was a strategic.
It was a strategic.
Okay.
Ruai was not a place I knew. But my wife today, who was my girlfriend then, the father had just bought land in Ruai. And so she knew of Ruai and told me, there's no hospital there. And so I said, let me check it out. And that's how I ended up there. And I saw a Kitengela coming up, a Rongai place coming up. I said, I want to grow up with this place. And that's how I ended up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, and I think the topic of funding, a lot of the questions were, how do you get capital? And maybe we'll talk about that later after you tell us about your process. But then, so how do we go now from 0 to 1 and then onwards to now in terms of yeah, so where do you, and a lot of the questions were also about the process of how do you set up a facility. A lot of people also wanted to know at what point in their career, how far after internship, and just drawing from your own experience. I think you got lucky because of, I mean, that was kismet in terms of your mom just have that happening at that point. But I think you can also create luck. But yeah, just talk us through that with lessons relevant to today.
I read this book, The Alchemist, and it says, if you want something so bad, the universe always conspires to give it up to you. And that thing has been a manifestation in my life for the longest time. I dreamt of a home. I built my first home at 26. And it's not a small house then. I mean, you need to first desire to have it, then work towards having it.
What
Right?
other books should we read?
Yes?
What other books should we read?
There are very many books, yes. So I think that really pushed me. And when you put the works into it, you get the results. But it's never easy, to be honest with you. There's always luck. But luck follows the people who desire the luck, right? Otherwise, had I not thought of setting up, I mean, there are people in my class who would have borrowed 1 million shillings and they would have been given. You understand? My class had people coming with Mercedes Benzes and everything else. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I would wish my son to go to school with a Mercedes Benz one day. It gives you the confidence, but train him the right direction, right? But he needs to know that what does he use that car to benefit him. You get the difference? So it's not luck. My mother losing the job was actually a misfortune, because from there, I started taking care of my brother who follows me immediately. I could pay his school fees and pay his accommodation in campus. And I did that for the one who follows him. And then after that, he took over to my sister, and then now our last born. We are all doing that. So it actually came with a burden. But you need to think that I want this. The more capital you have, the high chances of failure you get. Why so? When you have minimal resources, your decisions are much more measured than when you have a lot of resources. You get the difference? So today, for example, you want to start an online e-commerce. No, not e-commerce. You want to start a telemedicine platform as a doctor, right? What do you need? You'll say, I don't have capital. It's a fallacy. The problem is not capital. The problem is the goodwill and the idea. Capital is never a problem to start a business. So those people who are having capital as an excuse, you're just being an escapist. Right? How do I design a telemedicine application? I will look for that coder or designer. Everybody's looking for money one way or another, right? He will quote for you. You say, me, I have half of that money, which you don't have. And you go, right? He will think twice. Hii ni pesa ya haraka. I mean, that thing, what does he use? He uses his brain, right? It's like an architect. What resources do they use? It's their brain and time they put to gaining that whatever, right? Let the architects not take me wrong. I have nothing against. They also say, what does a doctor use except the brain, right? So, he will call you later and say, boss, nimefikiria, si ulete hiyo, niambia boss, nitakupea a third of that money, hiyo ingine nitakupea pole pole. You have started the process. When you need that a third, you will raise it. You get the difference? Yes. So we start with 300,000. I rent a 2-bedroom house where rent is about 10,000 a month. Pay deposit 10,000. You understand? Then I go and realize we need seats. Say, I will not buy seats. So we go and buy wood. We create a bench. What do? We clad the bench with foam and the pleather. You see this to leather-ish thing, like those ones. And that's how it becomes our reception seat. Then I need a reception desk. What do we need? Oh, MDF. We buy MDF, we join them in there, and then we have a reception. Then we create the shelves for the pharmacy. Then the next thing, I need a lab. So we start ordering the lab microscope. I got someone who brought them one by one in my house and accumulated them. Today, the capital is too much.
Still be the 300,000?
Yes, within.
Okay.
Right.
And are you seeing patients? Is this,
no, we are
getting
setting
revenue?
up. We are setting up.
So no patients
No
yet?
patients yet.
Okay.
Yes, we are setting up. And so we do everything, then along the way, I've run out of cash. So the initial place to get capital in a business is the 3 Fs. It's called friends, fools, and family. Right? It's only a stupid person who will give you money without collateral and doesn't know where you're going to put it, right? So in this case, I got family, who is my mom, then friends, who was my girlfriend at that point. When money ran out, I talked to her. I don't know how these women save money, but she had 100,000 in an account somewhere in campus. You know, 100,000 at that time was like 600 or 700,000 today. I don't know how, but yes, she gave me. And that's why I'll be loyal and I'll stick by her, by rain or sunshine, right? So you get that and you fill the gap.
Someone asked how to find a life partner.
How to find a life partner? Attitude. Attitude more than anything else. When I interview my staff, I look for attitude, number one. When you want a life partner, look for attitude. Kuna yule mtu atakuwa mpole, kumbe, very, anajifanya, what is the name of that song? You know, yes, ile Dodge Sahani, you know. So you look for attitude first. People who you're sure will not change, and they are genuine. She had the chance to date the richest kids in school, but she chose this reggae boy because probably she saw the dream. You understand? And she stood by him.
The girls should see the dream, guys.
Yes, so don't look for ready-made. Look for the future, right? Yes,
date potential. You're telling them to date potential.
Potential. That's what
I don't know.
That's what we don't know today. Look for the potential, right? So not ready-made. Somebody who has a passion and a desire inside to make it, and then hold each other's hands. I said if I don't get my wife in campus, I'll probably not marry, because I thought deep inside I was going to be successful at some point. And I hated the fact that the women then would love me for what I had and not me, right? And so I said, let me lock this, mapema ndio best, right? So finish now, and then kesi badai. So yeah, that's what I did. And I think marrying early also helped me.
How old were you?
I mean, we left campus and moved in, and that's how things went.
So like 24, 25?
25, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, along the way, you're a man trying to find yourself. You do mistakes here and there. At least she was loyal to me. She stood by me, stood some of my bullshit. Until now, I sobered up and say, now I need to, yes. That's life.
Okay, back to funding.
Back to funding, yeah. Okay. So she topped up, and then we opened our doors. You buy medicine here for kidogo, 10,000, lab reagents here, kidogo. Today, the capital, if you're thinking my advice will help you set up a hospital or a clinic, you're lying to yourself. The game has changed. The license for laboratory alone is 300,000. Right? So things are different. You understand? Then it was, I think, 10,000 or 15,000 thereabout, right? Yeah, so a lot of things have changed. The ball game is different. So what happens? You change with circumstances. Partnerships are hard, but how about you come together, 5 or 6 of you, like-minded people. You have known each other for 6 years. You understand? You have seen this guy does not wash utensils, but I can stand him. This one knows how to cook. This one sleeps during discussions. Yes, so you know each other. But don't go out there and start taking partners for people you don't know. You will cry premium tears.
Did you consider taking partners? Or had you
my experience with the Tomon 10 idea cut that idea for partnerships completely for me at that time.
So you're the sole proprietor of RFH?
I was, then I sold 10% to a friend later on, I think after 5-6 years, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you're telling us about the process of setting up and then getting your employees, and all this time you're still an employee of government.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
still working for the government. So I was an employer. So I had a CEO, a nurse, a clinician, a lab tech. And so I would only come to supervise them on weekends. And boss, they showed me dust. They would steal like there's no one's business. So I would withdraw money from my ATM to pay them with my salary when they have already paid themselves. I was thin like a mosquito.
How
And I
did
could
you
not
deal
sleep.
with that?
After internship, I was posted to Nyeri. So I was running a business from Nyeri to Nairobi via remote control, and they would send me messages every day. Today, we've done this, we've seen this number of patients. But boss, there were lies. Because on weekends, you're there, you see 20. They tell you they saw 5 or 4. And they did some very bad things as well. You know, some of them, in their task to make money, they would do, crazy stuff. And so I had to find a way to come back to Nairobi. So I really hustled with the ministry to find my way back. And so when Uhuru was launching free maternity, they needed extra doctors in Pumwani, and voila, I found myself in that list because the secretary at Afia House saw how determined I kept knocking that door every day. I remember there's a time one person told me, you cannot work in Nairobi because of your name. Yes, that's a country we have built for ourselves. But again, I said, if you want something, God finds a way to open the doors for you. So I found myself back in Nairobi, so I would monitor and supervise much easier. And things changed slightly from there. Then we realized where we were was not the best, and so we needed to look for a better place, and that's how we moved to where the current Ruai family is. It was just a one-story building. Yeah, the landlord finished it for us. Then that time I applied for a loan from Youth Fund because one thing when you start a business, you must show your cash flows. And so somebody who helped me was somebody who told me, bank everything you make. Even if you're banking it here and withdrawing it here, right? So I could bank everything, and I was surprised when I withdrew our first statement. I saw tens of millions in account. I'm like, whoa, these things have passed through my hands, but it's the 5,000, 2,000, 1,000. And that financial knowledge nobody teaches as in medical school. And so I started putting my books and records, and so I could get a loan. And so I went to Youth Enterprise Fund. People said, these government things, you can't get them unless you know anyone. Funnily enough, I just went, I didn't know anyone, applied. Using the title deed for that land I bought in Kitengela as collateral, we got 1.8 million. And that was what made us now start from an outpatient to a 10-bed maternity hospital. And the story is never the same moving forward.
I hope everyone's picking the lessons. This is not one of those, he's not giving points. But I think a big part of your journey is just the thought that you can. You have the audacity, like you think you can. So I think guys have the audacity. Whatever it is you think you can do, what your mind can conceive, you can do, right? And just a thing of not seeing obstacles, the thing of capital is not a reason, not having capital is not a reason to not start a business. And I think there's so many other obstacles we put on ourselves, but really, if they don't exist in your mind, they don't exist in life, right? So I think we can go now to I think we've got the story, at least in its skeleton form. We'll read the book when it comes out, please.
Yes.
It needs to come out. But what do you think has equipped you the most for, I know that thinking of you can is a big part, but what has equipped you the most for your journey? I think entrepreneurship in this country, and especially in healthcare, is really a sport. So what's been maybe 3 or 4 things that have been?
It's not a sport, it's an extreme sport. I'll tell you, there are days I've thought and entertained the thought of committing suicide, as sad as it sounds. In all honesty, in the public world, you're seeing yourself as, people are seeing you as very successful, you're winning awards, but deep inside here, you're a crushed, broken person, just literally living the day at a time. Got myself into alcohol, a lot of it, and I would drink and drink. And those are days I never wish for anyone. And on a Sunday, I never knew for 4 years how a weekend looked like. Because I was either in bed nursing a hangover, or I'm very stressed and sleeping. And that's a journey of business. It's not a bed of roses. And you take every bullet that comes your way, even for things done by people who you have no control about. First, my closeness to God has really been very fundamental to me. And it gives me hope every day that there's somebody somewhere watching over me. Even when the most powerful people come and they want to bring you down, there's a God in heaven who will stand by you. Because as long as you do the right thing, he will be there for you. But other than that, what also equipped me is education. I've never stopped learning. I didn't finish development finance, as someone said. I dropped out because I just hate feeling stupid. I entered that class in Strathmore, and I could not understand what those people were saying. And so I dropped out. Yes, so that's life. Sometimes know what you can and what you cannot. That is a lesson you need to take. I always want to equip myself more. I think going with the Stanford Seed program really helped me. How to package a business, look at the value chain, look at your value proposition, look at your strengths, your channels, your customer value add, who are your stakeholders. And so it made me now package the business into a corporate scenario. And once you do that, then you become fund ready. So with that, we were able to fund it and package it so well that after that, when we started raising funds, we went to a South African fund that gave us 100 million shillings at that point, because we had now packaged the business ready for investment. And then from there, we went into local banks, and then we got institutional investors, and we are now looking for more and more and more. So that knowledge of how to run a business is what lacks in medical school. And I think it's a unit that the faculty needs to think about seriously, as a unit that everyone needs to be taught, because you need it. Today, it's obvious that everyone is not going to be employed by the government, right? What option do you have? You run your clinic or you run your practice. The same fundamentals of running Safaricom as a business is the same fundamentals of running your kiosk. It doesn't change. It's the scale that changes. So going to school has also been very helpful to me. My family has been very strong. Had they given up on me at some point, there's that time, I literally would say I was an alcoholic addict. Because you'd swear I'm not going to drink the next weekend, and you find yourself on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, drunk, yani. But out there, you're the life of the party like no one else. Everybody's looking for you where you are, right? But at home, no one is happy with you. So they're like, out there, you are so jovial. When you come here, you're always in pain. Usitubebe fala, So that is how people give up on someone, and someone goes and finds themselves there. And so my family just being there and holding my hands and standing by me also was very important. A lot of medical entrepreneurs who've been successful, and I will not mention names, if you follow their social life, it's pathetic. You understand? And that's something needs to be talked.
What is it about the sector? What really are the challenges that drive people to that level of struggle, especially in healthcare? And then how did you get out of that? I think that's relatable.
First and foremost, as a doctor, you are forced and trained into your line of duty and nothing else. What helped me is a bit much more social. So I had friends outside my medical cycle. I have very few medical friends that we hang out every day. They are friends, yes, but more of acquaintances. So my everyday friends are not medics. So at least I have a view of other things other than medical. But in the medical field, it's a competition. We're always competing. Who's better and who's going to bring the other down? And it's just you pull one another down and one another down. And so your biggest enemies are actually people around you. And that eats you up, right? And we need to change. We need to be like lawyers. We need to ensure that when one of our own shines, then we all shine, right? But that's not us in the medical sector. When a patient goes to the other, this person did wrong and 1, 2, 3, 4, because you want to look better. No, that's not how to be a doctor. How to be a doctor is, yes, do the right, but also you have to pass the message differently without making the other one look bad. Because I'm always better and the other one is bad. That is what this profession is. Then in medicine, running a hospital being an extreme sport is because you're dealing with everything and anything that entire sectors of the world has. You have drivers, you have cooks, you have chefs, you have public relations officer, you have communication, you have logistics, you have a pharmacy, you have a lab. Then you have patients who don't want to pay sometimes, and when they don't pay, they run to social media, but you can't tell the world that they had this condition and they did not pay because there's patient confidentiality. And then you go to the board, and the board also wants sometimes to look politically right, and they will also side and make vague decisions, but that vague decision can be used against you, and now you're here begging the patient, oh, please, what? But you have a reputation to keep. Boss, at what point do you have a right of your own? You understand me? And it sucks you and brings you down every day, every day, every day. And you don't have a right. So even as we look forward to setting up practices, it is not a bed of roses. It is not easy. Right? I mean, the big hospitals today have no individual owner. You get the difference? But you are here standing, and the entire weight is on your shoulders as one person. And moreover, you don't have a godfather or anyone who stands by you. You're on your own. And a lot of people think you're very successful, yet you're struggling here with debts. You understand? And they want to be like you. So they want to pull you down so that they take your position. Little do they know I can give it to them free of charge and tell them, please take. You know, I am tired. And so that's the difference. The big hospitals that we know are either faith-based or mission or a group of something. There's no single person, right? If you go to doctors who set up big practices, more often than not, some of them were overwhelmed and they gave up. And that's why some hospitals don't grow to a certain level. Because you realize, let me go build rentals and collect rent and live in peace. Right?
These are the realities. Thank you.
It is what it is.
So all of you who want to be hospital owners, just know this is what's coming. But then, so has it gotten easier? Have you developed problem-solving frameworks? How did you cope with the mental health? It must get easier. Do you get better at what you do?
I just realized that I needed to love myself first more than anything else. I shed out the bad energy around me. I finish work, go home, play with my children. I stopped drinking completely. Yes, I did. I feel better. I'm more energized. I'm more encouraged. I've become more closer to my sons and daughter. Focused on work, setting systems and places, holding people accountable so that they know it's not me, but it's them. Today, if you do anything wrong, I will report you to the council. Who said it's only patients who can report people to the council? So if you come and work for me tomorrow and you mismanage a patient, I will be the first one to write a letter to the council. So that we all take responsibility, right? I mean, you can't do a surgery and leave a gauze and expect people to take responsibility for you. You know their gauze count. Why didn't you do gauze count? The hospital will not take responsibility for you. You have to take responsibility for yourself. And so we need to hold everyone accountable. And holding all this baggage on my head, I said I need to take them where they belong and let everyone hold their baggage for themselves.
Okay, so one last question, then I think we'll open it up to the crowd. Is it worth it? In terms of the returns, someone asked, what is I think that was my favorite question, the returns in monetary and self-actualization terms. Are you fulfilled?
For me, it's the fact that I don't desire so much, to be honest with you. I have a house and I have a roof over my head. My children are going to a school. She was asking me which school. I told her my children are doing, it's called what? Normal system. You know, that's what they do. That's what I did. So why should I spoil them paying 1 million shillings a term? I mean, if I'm not there tomorrow, will they have that money to pay it? So, and we can eat. For me, that's enough. The fact that there are 500 people waking up every morning and depending on that enterprise, for me, is success. The fact that there are children who come walking and the parents tell me that, Daktari, you know you're the one. The other day was my birthday, and the lady posted that the only doctor who has seen my intestines. I mean, it sounds, you know, but that's how much people trust you with their lives, right? That is somebody who will trust you with anything else that is good, right? Because They have trusted you with their life, and you've delivered. The fact that they have children walking and running around that you helped bring forth life into this world is a fulfillment you need. Have I gotten material goods? Yes, I have gotten material goods. I've tasted a few good cars here and there, right? But it's not everything. I've driven in them and I realized that's not everything I look for. I went back to the basics. I'm sure I drove in today with a car and people are wondering which car is this guy's driving. I mean, as long as you move from point A to B, you're okay. We yearn for these things. When you get them, you realize you are more lonely up there than you are. Life is much more better and simpler at this stage. Be with the people. Monetary, comme ci, comme ça. Yes. I'm not where I used to be, but I'm not where I want to be, but I'm definitely better than where I was.
That's very specific. So I have a bunch of questions left, but I think we've spoken quite a lot. And I'm hoping a couple of the questions that are here, like general questions about the healthcare sector, what are the gaps in private sector? Would you, what would you tell these young people if you were speaking to your younger self? Yeah, but I'm hoping these sort of come up in the crowd because I just feel like we need a bit more engagement. So maybe we could have, I could actually just go around. Do we have questions from the crowd? Is there anyone who wants to verbalize their question? Just raise your hand. Okay. Mr. Mastermind, CEO.
So thank you. My question is, what is the role of role models? What has been the role of role models in your success? Like, are there people you've been looking up to? Yeah, so the next question, I think you've already talked about it. I wanted to ask you about the books you've read and the ones you'll have recommended. But you've mentioned The Alchemist, and I carried it. Okay.
Oh, nice.
I carried a sample.
So you're selling The Alchemist, right?
Yeah.
It will definitely go after this. I need a commission from that sale.
So I have it and other books on financial literacy. So if you like to start early on gaining knowledge about finances.
Excuse me, have you paid? Have you paid advertising?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So maybe we'll take one more and then Doc will answer. Okay, there's right there.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, please introduce yourself and what year you are.
I'm Eric Mwariri, a third-year medical student. So my question to Dr. is, so you said when you were starting, the thing that, because for me, I feel starting a clinic is possible for almost everyone. But now the changes come in terms of growth. Like most of them, they hit a place where you're not going forward, you're not going back. So my question is, apart from like making yourself into a corporate where you are like investor ready, what other things like separated you from now where you are right now, and maybe colleagues whom you started with, and they're the ones in the practice, they're still the ones seeing patients. What are like the fundamentals that made the difference?
So what are the factors that determine success? Is that your question? Okay.
I get you. The role of mentors, I'll tell you, the worst curse you can ever have is called early success in life. Early success in life is more often a curse than a blessing. Why do I say this? You're shining when your peers are not shining. Right? So you have more enemies trying to bring you down. You get my point? Then when you shine, when others are not shining, then you feel you're entitled that you're better than all of them. Then it can get into your head. Then you lose yourself. And that's why most people who are early success rarely sustain their success. It's a
How early
Caucasian
is
car.
early?
I mean, you've just left campus in 5 years, all of a sudden this guy has top of the range car, has this and has that and has that. You understand? And you're shining and you're talking all over, right? So you need to bring yourself down and have someone who tells you you're not yet there. And probably I didn't have that person. Probably my parents did a good job, and I had a subconscious mind that kept telling me, boss, you're losing it, and this is not you, and you need to come back. Right? But you need a mentor, a genuine mentor. The reason why I didn't have them is more often than not, every person I approached, they wanted to take advantage, and they were not genuine. But you cannot do without them. I wish I had one early enough. I probably have not gone through that rough patch that I had. The books that I'm talking about, I'll probably just read. I do a lot of Audible. So when I'm in the car, matatu or whatever, you know. Yes. Yes, why not? I do. You know, it's not to please you. When I need to run from here to there, I'll take and do the. Yes, I do. I'm not telling you to please you. It is my life. I don't owe you an explanation, right? Yes. You've taken your car to car wash, you're going to pick the other one. You'll use Andudi to go and pick the other one. Yes, so let me just read for you some books. So there's, of course, the 48 Laws of Power. There's Blue Ocean Strategy, right? Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela is a good read as well. There's a Prosperity Paradox by Clayton M. Christensen. There's a Code Blue. It's an American book about hospital healthcare. There's The Key Man by Simon Clark. The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster. When Breath Becomes Air. I think we all know that. Outliers. Finding Me, amongst many other books. Yeah, I think I've answered that.
But which ones have been most impactful for you?
Prosperity Paradox, The Key Man, Long Walk to Freedom. There's a book by Tom Boyer as well that has really helped me. What else? Okay, unless I look at my
I can
laptop.
recommend a book for you.
Yeah?
I can recommend
Sure,
one.
sure.
It's called Second Mountain.
Second Mountain.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's where you are. You really enjoy
I'll get it
Yeah.
in a few.
And for everyone else, there's a book
Yeah.
called Second Mountain.
So, what makes the difference between setting up a clinic is easy. Now, before I answer you, I want to tell you something. Every doctor wants to be in Nairobi. That's not where the opportunity is. You get me? Ruai was not Nairobi. I chose to go out of town when everybody was rushing for locums in town, right? Why do you want, be the outlier in the Caucasian curve, not be in the middle, right? Be out. I don't know which town. Which town do you come from? Where's your village? Yeah? Thika. Thika is not a village. Higher. Choose one town where your parents, mother or father comes. I'm sure you, Thika is not, but let's talk about Thika. Wait a minute. You know Makongeni? Yes, I've lived in Makongeni. How many facilities are in Makongeni if you add Matia Mulumba? Right? How many doctors are there full-time and have set up a practice? Why can't you be that person who goes there? And now we are thinking, why can't we look for doctors wishing to go out there and give them franchises and give them standards, right? It's a work in progress, but we need to maintain quality. I come from Homa Bay. Everybody tells me go set up in Homa Bay. But why will I run it in Homa Bay? If there's a doctor willing to go sit in Homa Bay, we set him the standards and he runs with it. It will work, right? But here in Homa Bay, the game has changed. If you don't have 30, 40 million, you cannot set up a facility. Let me not lie to you. Right? Unless you're willing to go inside Kibera or Dadora or Madare or, you know, the insides. And that's a cash market. Because they don't have money for insurance, right? Yes. And you need to lower yourself and leave the ego of a doctor and say that consultation rate fee, medical counsel is 1,500, my friend. you will wait and wait. But that guy who will go inside Kibera and say he's a doctor and sits there and gives outcomes which are good, in 3 years will be here giving a talk. You get the difference? So go out where there's an opportunity. Don't go where it's crowded. So what makes the difference is you need to run it as a business. I run a clinic. What do I do next? I want to start this. I bank this. These are my financials. This is what we make. Word of mouth is better referee than any other marketing you'll ever do. Ensure your services and your clients are well satisfied. Right? Then build up on that. Build on your clientele. Increase value. Always be the next person. I mean, a lot of doctors have copied what RFH is doing. And they don't even struggle. They choose the same color of the logo. They go look for a name and say family hospital. Fine, that's not copying, you'd say so. But I mean, have something different. What makes you different and standing out? And so we're always innovating. And so we changed into RFH, and now the other day I was seeing another BHF, and you get. But it's okay. Copying is the best flattery. It's a, what do you call it? Imitation is the best? Yes. So have something different that you do that makes you stand out. And always strive to be better. And always have a new product coming in. You understand me? What does it cost to set up a maternity from a clinic? There's a few beds, delivery bed, resuscitator, suction machine, right? Ambubag and all those things. You get the difference? But the labor has more impact than treating a cough. Right? Yes. So like I told you, it's not capital. The capital is X-ray and theater. Those are the heavy capital equipment. But once you have a traffic that comes in, your finances can justify asset financing for you to get those things.
Are these skills you learn, or are they innate ability? Do you think you had an innate advantage?
Innate advantage? I don't know. I mean,
like your personality.
Your students, I'm a type A, yes, I'm a go-getter, but your students who have the power to analyze things. And there's nothing that is different from data. Your data speaks for everything. You will run around, but you'll find your answers are on your face. So if you can learn the art of analyzing your data and using that data to make decisions, then you are at an advantage point than all the rest.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take more questions from the crowd.
My name is Sam. I have a few questions. So I wanted to ask, how long did it take you to like break even when you started? And also wanted to know, did you go in blindly, or like how did you navigate? Like, for example, some of us here don't even know how clinics run and everything, like the whole picture. You just learn on the job, or you had someone who was showing you around? And also, so when do you know when to, like, when it's not working out, when to give up maybe? Yeah. And then one last one. So you said you are working in a government facility while also running your clinic. So yeah, I wanted to, is it better if you like go all in, like you start your own clinic, you work there, you're not looking for any employment, or like what is the best approach? Yeah.
Nobody was born with all information in this world. And so just talking to people really helps you. I think when I was setting up, there's a clinician who had a clinic in Githurai 45. We are the one going to committee. And I sat down and lowered my pride as a doctor and went to a clinician and sat down and asked him, how do you run this? And he told me what to look out, right? So you need to go and talk to people who have done it before to help you, right? Also know your weaknesses and your strengths. If you cannot and you're not an administrator, look for an administrator and become a doctor. Not all of us cannot run hospitals. Let's not lie to each other. If you all go to open, you're going to burn your fingers so much. It's not for everyone. So if you're a doctor, be a doctor, but become an investor and let an administrator run it for you. And pay them a salary and put them on responsibility. That, boss, I need my bottom line looking like this. You understand? Yes. So you need to have people doing their roles. Today I don't practice because I've realized I can't do both, right? You choose a struggle. You can't do everything. So choose one and live with it. The other question was when to give up? Boss, when it's not working, it's not working. You're not going to have debts from here till Timbuktu and you still say we are moving on. Bwana. You will find yourself with a rope on your neck. You know. So, do you have working capital to sustain your operations? Are you able to meet your obligations? If it's not, please don't. Because the problem is, you're going to go into more problems than what you're looking for. I don't know if that makes sense. Right? But if you're in a right place, right mix, right product, people will come in and they'll be able to meet your costs and you'll not have that headache.
You also asked when you broke even. Did you answer that?
When?
How long it took you to break even?
How long it took us to break even? I actually don't know. To be honest, I struggled because I had a salary. I used to sustain it with my salary. So I just gave up my luxury for the sake of the business. And then I think when the civil servant scheme came in, and then now more schemes came in, then things now looked up. So that was 2012, 2014, about 2.5 years. Yes.
I had one more question about, you mentioned about the licenses. So you said like the lab you need like 300K. So like what other like forms of bureaucracy do you have to go through before you start acting?
Today it's insane. You need about 20.
20 licenses.
It's bad. No, I'm not discouraging you. There's a medical council. If you have a pharmacy, there's pharmacy and poisons. And you need the superintendent who you're paying for using their license, plus the council. You need a lab with a superintendent plus a council. You need a radiology if you have an x-ray. You understand? You need a council. If you have a billboard, you need that thing, the light. MCSCK, right? I mean, it's insane. It's terrible. To be honest, everybody who comes up wants to levy hospitals because people think there's money in healthcare.
So is there a way around that, or we just have to?
That's why I said, as long as we keep fighting each other, we are not going to go anywhere. We need to come back and unite ourselves. But unfortunately, we don't see ourselves as one unity.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be the same. It's not going to change anytime soon.
And would you say, as you pass it on to the, please raise your hand. The guy in blue wanted to ask a question.
Last one.
Hi, my friend.
So basically, like, if you could give me like one minimum figure you need for a well-run clinic, how much?
You want to set up a clinic?
Yeah.
No, I'm asking.
Yes.
Right. If you want to set up a clinic, ballpark figure.
Yeah.
With X-ray or with imaging or with no imaging?
With imaging.
With imaging.
Yeah.
You have an X-ray, you have an ultrasound. Right?
Yes, hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically, yeah.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
An outpatient.
Yes.
About 10, 15 million?
For an outpatient?
Yes.
Okay.
Because an X-ray, you're not going to put the film ones anymore. Nowadays we have a CR. A CR is 5 million alone. So the X-ray is 2.5, the processor is 2.5. That's 5 million, right? Yes, ultrasound is another 2 million. Or yeah, let's say you use the portable one, 1 point something. You're at 6, 7. You get my difference.
But
yes.
Remember, this is the person who started with 300,000.
Yeah, I didn't have an ultrasound when I started. I didn't have an X-ray. It was the doctors with a lab. I had a microscope, a centrifuge, and the strips.
So the point is to start.
Is to start.
Yeah.
I told you capital is not the problem.
Yeah.
It is you that they're looking for. The doctor in you, right? Right? They come to Doctor's Plaza. The Doctor's Plaza does not have those things. You start with what you have. Build your clientele. Build that clientele. Send them for an X-ray somewhere, and they sign an MOU with someone with an X-ray and say, my patients must come back to me if you want my traffic. Send them for an ultrasound somewhere and say, my patients must bring back the report to me. If I see you've taken them, I'm not sending to you anymore. And build your loyalty. Then with your loyalty, now you can go and get an asset finance for an X-ray or an ultrasound.
I love that. I think at the core of it is be good at what you're doing, create value, and then grow through that. The guy in blue, who has a microphone? Yes, please go for it.
I'm Omondi Opana. I'm a BDS4 student. I have one question. This concept of health insurance, where you see a hospital like trying to come up with like an insurance product. I don't know if you're doing it, but I think I read in literature that you own an insurance company. So I may like for you to like just give us a small explanation on how that model works, and if it is something that we can.
Okay. So having run the facility for some time, initially, today we have a very good relationship with the insurance companies. Initially, it was a bad relationship whereby the insurance feels they are bigger and you're small and they dictate everything, right? So we said, insurances are selling a product that they don't own, right? Who owns the product? It's us, the hospitals. So why don't we sell what they're selling and own? Because how are you going to sell me a pen and you don't own that pen? Does it make sense? It's not, right? What do insurance companies sell? Medical insurance, right? Who gives the service? The hospitals. Yes? And the doctors, right? But who determines when they're paying you? Them. Who determines how much they're paying you? Who determines whether they'll pay you or not? Are you seeing that relationship? Right? It's a flawed relationship. So, we said the value chain is controlled by us, but we are weaker in this process, and somebody else is stronger than us. So we said, let's also have our own, so that we have our own patients benefiting from us, and with that we can be cheaper. Because we don't have an administrative cost. We run the platform. We have the doctors, we have the nurses, we have the lab, and we have everything. And that's how Redleaf started. Right? So we had an idea and a concept, and we packaged the marketing, and we marketed. I remember when I gave the person running it, he never thought anyone would buy the idea. And then one SACCO, Matatu SACCO, came and registered all their members. Then the next person and a patient and a patient and a patient, and they referred each other. And today we have 6,000 members in the platform. Right? But the idea is you have to seek care within our facilities. That's why it's cheaper. I will not treat you less because I want you to renew. I will treat you better. But at least I have the money with me. And I don't have to wait for somebody else to pay me.
That's such a great idea. Do you think it's going to grow bigger than RFH? I think
the brand is now bigger than RFH. But again, it can't grow bigger than RFH because it depends on the network that RFH does.
But in terms of the concept, are you the first? Does anything like that exist?
No, we are the first to do it. So we are now looking at how to partner with. We are looking at how to partner with another insurance company now that we are talking to see how now we can open it up to the other. But that having come up, the insurances have realized that micro-insurance is a direction to go. Because only 10%, or actually 5% of Kenyans are insured. 95% are not insured. So where is the business? Is it the 5 or the 95? Look for the 95. And so now all of them are coming up with micro packages. But for micro packages to work, you must have the hospitals with you. And that's the Equity Affairs and the RFHs and the Penda Health and all that chains coming up. You right? So that's the direction healthcare is going to. Because at some point, it must be affordable. Because we cannot do without healthcare. But then again, at what cost are we doing it? So there are many opportunities out there. If I was you right now, I'd be thinking of telemedicine. We can't run away from it. It is coming. It's going to be here with us. When I started Mkoba, nobody ever thought I can order something and trust a Kenyan to bring it to me in the door. Right? When telemedicine was saying, how will a doctor be consulted on phone and give me answers? Boss, that was my thesis in Harvard, and it was a winning thesis. How do we construct a hospital into small pieces? It will reach a point where hospitals will only be theaters and ICUs. Even wards will be within our own homes. That's the direction the world is going to. Everybody's looking for convenience. So what convenience are you giving your patients moving forward?
Just because you've spoken about that, maybe
Great.
talk to that future of healthcare as he asked the question.
Yeah, so future of healthcare, as I've said, telemedicine is one of them. AI, today if you're a medic and you're not techie, you're doomed. Sorry to say. It is what it is, right? Nobody wants the abdomen to be opened. Everybody wants laparoscopic surgeries. So now, the advantage, sorry to say, and I'm not hitting on anyone, be proud, the rich kid who was playing PlayStation at home is now better off than that boy who came from the village. Because he can play with those, that's what laparoscopic surgery is, right? The fine skills have been mastered. So that's his place to shine. Right? AI in healthcare. Everything is looking at convenience of the human being. You're training to be a surgeon, but very soon you're not going to open abdomens anymore. You're going to do them robotically. And the world is fast-paced. Before, when plasma TVs were released in the States, they would take about a year or 2 years before we see the first plasma in Kenya, right? Today, iPhone 14 is released in the States in 2 days, 3 days, somebody has it here. The new Range Rover was released the other day. We have them on our roads, right? So it's a global village. One thing is discovered today, and in 2 days, it's here with us. So you need to keep yourself at pace with the technological advancements.
My name is Mwendwa, MBCHB Year 2. I have a question for the speaker. In the course of your business, have you ever suffered any major setback or loss, and how did you bounce back?
Any major setback? I've just told you at a personal level, I've gone through very rough paces. Was it which year were we having an election? Is it 2017 or something? I mean, you're watching news and the first thing you see is a breaking news about your facility. And it rained for 4 days, the way we had mismanaged a child, right? I'll not talk about the details of that. But I received messages from people who are even my friends that you're satanic and diabolic. People I thought are friends without knowing the true information of what transpired. How can you do this to a young child? Right? It was the toughest time of my life. I had never been taught how I'll deal with this. I'm 20, I think 6, 7 or something. Boss, I would hear that NTV news, whatever, ringing, and my body would freeze. I never watched television for about 4 years. It was traumatic. But the patients who knew us stood by us, and that gave me hope. Otherwise, we were shutting down. And you go to social media and people say, close that thing, shut that people, they're after money, they're what, and people are talking bad. Another one later, PPH, which happens anywhere, it's politicized, competitors on it, and they run with it, and it's rain on TV. And of course, we saw the 1 hour licenses were cancelled because of our COVID vaccine issues, and that's business. It's not always going to be rosy. So you need to just tighten your belt and move on. Fatigue now? Yes.
We could do 3 more questions and then call it. We haven't taken any from this side.
Let's do 5.
Okay,
Then we
fine.
close, please, if you don't mind.
There's a girl there, so we'll take the girl.
Mhm. There's someone there? Who's not
2,
gone.
3, 4, 5, Michelle.
Okay, fine. Chop, chop.
Okay. My question is, something that you said a lot is how medics out there
Mm-hmm.
are like the worst rivals to each other. My question is, what advice would you give us as medics here, as students, before we are professionals, on just, I don't know, relations in such a way that you're building one another? Because clearly, the tearing down each other is not sustainable.
I hope you be the people who change what it is. A doctor is better going to a facility owned by a non-medic than going to a facility owned by a medic. Because they think I'm enriching the other one who will be better than me. Can you create it an idea of going to fellow medics facilities and talking to one another as opposed to talking against one another? If you have a problem with your colleague, face them and talk to them, but don't talk behind them. That's a common thing amongst doctors. So it has to change with you guys, right? Build one another. Can you say, buy doctor, build a doctor, if such a thing exists? If he's selling books, buy books from him. If he's doing flowers, buy flowers from him. We start by that, and people start feeling that I owe you a return favor. And now we build into that and grow with it. Sawa. But not all medics are bad. A lot of them have also stood by me over time. Right? Next, please.
Good evening.
Yeah.
I'm Marvin, year 2. My question is, you mentioned that the source of capital for any business that is starting is family, friends, and fools. So for friends, you know them, they know you. There's some level of trust. For family also the same. So for the fools, how do you get their trust? Like how will they know that this is the right business, this is the right place to invest?
For
the fools,
how do you convince the fools?
Yes.
That's why they're called fools. Because what happens is, they'll come with a pitch, tell you how I'm starting this business, these are the numbers, this is what will happen, and they buy in and they put their money. It's how you pitch. It's your pitching skills. And they believe you with no collateral, no backlash, no nothing. You know, no responsibility on your end. Hoping you become a good person and pay back. More often than not, they are not paid.
Hi, my name is Eugene. I'm BCHP2. I have a question on the future of RFH. Because I've seen this with many dentists. You find one opens here and then the next, right? So are you seeing medicine go the restaurant to a franchise where you guys have the name and obviously capital is a bit expensive?
That's a direction. What is happening is we are moving to a place where before we had every Tom, Dick, and Harry doing their own things. MedAccess, MedIxis, MedWorkses, you understand? Yes, so we need to change that and consolidate. We are going to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions. UKTF is a franchise model that has proven that it can work, right? We are putting up our chain. We are looking at whether franchise will work for places which we cannot access at some point. The issue with franchise is you have to be very sure to maintain standards and quality, and also bringing multiple different minds together. Equity Afia happens to have a big brother, which is Equity the bank that controls them, right? So but basically that's the direction. You'll find either RFH or I saw Avenue has raised about 1-point-something billion the other day. Either they can come and buy out RFH and say, now RFH is a part of Avenue Group. You understand? That's where we are going to create more of solid brands than small brands. The small brands might not survive for long. Yes.
Hello, Doc. My name is Frank. We are in a society where you start a facility or a business, you employ someone, that person wants you to be there for him to work properly, unless you steal from profit to capital.
Unless you?
I'm saying, you employ someone, and that person wants you to be so that he works properly, otherwise he can steal everything. How did you go about it?
So how do you manage your staff? How do you get
In your
employees
absence.
you
First,
trust? Yeah.
okay. Initially, it was much easier. You make them buy the idea. Because I tell you, you're first working for yourself and not for me. Right? You're there because you need the pay. But how will you pay yourself? It's the work you do that pays you. I don't have a tree with money that I pluck money and pay you. It is the money you generate that I use to pay you. So first, the employees need to understand we are doing this for us and not for our employer. But along the way, when the growth comes and grows, then culture gets diluted. And so now it becomes, it's a transaction. I pay you, you work for me, right? So how do we align each other? I will sell for you the dream, but people will never buy that at a larger scale. So we just neutrally, there are KPIs. I expect you to deliver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I expect to give you this. Then there's the other variable motivational aspects, either bonuses or what or stuff like that. Yes.
Okay.
So hello, my name is Kamenshu, and my question is still on the importance.
Sure, it's solid and secured. Pass fast. Otherwise, I would be lying to you if I start telling you other things. Let's be genuine with one another. I believe you called me here to tell you the truth, right? Yes. Otherwise, I will tell you, start selling mandazi dondo here, you get. Yes. Let's be factual. If you're not going to pass here, you're going to go into depression, you're going to see your friends riding cars tomorrow, you commit suicide. That's what's happening with most doctors. Right? And you start smoking weed, and then we find you at Madare Mental. I hope I've answered you. It's not what you expected to hear, but it's the truth. Yes. The money that your parent is giving you, ensure it's comfortable enough for you to concentrate in school and pass. Not everybody has a capacity to do 2, 3 things. And I'll honestly be lying to you if I told you I stopped Mkoba at 4th year because I could not double multitask. 5th year, you can't do anything else. 6th year, now that it's there, I don't know. But anybody telling you to do other things is lying to you. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think let's just, I think one, who, guys, just so that we don't have to bring you back, let's just close there. Satisfy the questions.
We might never finish questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last one.
My name is Jeremy. I'm a pre-intern. So we all know the current situation with the fact that we finish internship and then we are all dumped. And I guess we've all given up on the government for a fact because we know there's nothing they're going to do to breed. So I wanted to ask, from where you sit, private sector, in administration, first, what do you think, what role can you play as private sector? And what do you think really is a problem? Let's put aside the government, because we know the government won't help us. And then someone else wanted to ask whether you accept electives at Ruai Family Hospital. Someone wanted to find out if you accept electives at Ruai Family Hospital.
First, we don't accept electives currently. I'm sorry. There's that issue that if you bring people who still, it's a private institution. Electives, I have to be there and train you. You're not going to get the necessary experience you're looking for. Go for electives in a public hospital. I went to Kisumu District Hospital, and that's when I knew how to treat malaria, I knew how to put granulas, I had all the chances to do all these things. So today you're talking about, before we even go into what the role of the private sector can play, can you first ensure you're a good doctor? Because the problem I'm having today is getting good doctors. It is the truth. And I'll talk as part of the private sector. People are slowly and slightly becoming more preferred. The clinical officers are becoming more preferred than the doctors. Do you know that? Because during internship, wanajitolea. Doctors wanaenda internship, wanapata pesa, wananunua gari. Kichwa inafura. And you don't see them in hospital. MOs. I'm telling you the truth. If you call me here to tell you the truth, I'll tell you the truth. What you do with that truth is up to you. You can love me or hate me. I mean, you know. They buy a car, wana swell kichwa hapa, sasa you cannot even tell them anything. Very entitled. Unfortunately, I don't know, most of them are still living in their parents' houses, so they don't have serious responsibilities. The attitude stinks. The way they treat patients is, it's bad. So first things first, If you're a good doctor, you will not lack a job. Let me not lie to you. If you're a good doctor, jobs will look for you. Right? Yes. So just ensure you're good at what you do. You will never sleep hungry. Because I can sit in my house in Donholm and give my number to all the hospitals in Umoja and Kayole and know that I'm very good in cesarean section and tell them, because I cannot hire a medical officer, call me and I buy a motorcycle. CS is 35, 45 minutes, right? I will go there, you pay me 8,000. I go back to my house and watch Netflix. Another one calls me, you pay me, how much will you make? You understand? So ensure by the time you leave your internship, your skills are top. A1. Besides Nairobi, there are no doctors willing to be there. With the counties coming up, there are a lot of hospitals being opened, but they don't have personnel to do that. Right? But we are all waiting to be employed. You will wait. Create that employment for yourself. Because the rules is market forces is supply and demand. 1,000 doctors jobless every year. By 5 years is 5,000. So you have 5,000 doctors. Hospitals are 5,000. When will you get employed? It is bad that it will reach a point even consultants and specialists might not be able to get placements. Because when they don't get employed, they rush for specialization. Right? When you go for specialization, the number of specialists being churned, vis-a-vis the population, the number is small. Vis-a-vis the market uptake capability, it is not the same. You get the difference? Yes. Let's change our attitude. Go for those internships and fight to be the person on the front row. Because the numbers are also so big, you can literally sail through and go unnoticed. We only had 2 universities offering medicine. Today we have how many? 10 or 12? Yes, all of them are going for internships. In that internship, the same internship centers are still the same. Nothing has changed. So where we were 10, you are now 50 interns. Boss, you can leave that place without putting a brand new life in a single day. You'll call the KCO intern, akuweke brand new la kila siku, we ukiparambulate uko inje. Unamaliza, unapewa kazi, haujui kitu, but because unaitwa daktari, now you cover your inability to do things with an attitude. I can see the way you're looking at me, but it's the truth. Please forgive me if I've hurt you, but the truth has to be said. Sasa juu hawezi ambiwa, unaekanga hapa, I'm a doctor, you don't question me. Or if you're put on the corner, you throw your hands and walk out. We've had doctors walking out because they don't want to be put on the corner. It can't work. And then you'll start saying the government has nothing to do with this. The government is a purchaser like any other. They'll only take what they can pay, right? They have a budget. So we used to graduate 2,000. We are graduating 5,000. It cannot take the whole 5,000. Let's accept the realities that market forces have changed. You will fight the government forever, but you will not fight the change. You will not look for it. You will not get it. Our budgetary allocation is the same. Our tax collection is the same. The number of graduates have tripled. What was allocated for interns has remained more or less the same, right? So they can't. Create your own niche because you are in a field that will always be needed. Why don't you finish as a medical officer and go do echocardiography training? How many people can do echocardiographs and interpret? Right? How many MOs can do ultrasounds? Hospitals in the village there don't have sonographers. They don't have cardiologists. You can be that ecotech. But we have left these courses, right? And people with diploma actually flourishing better than us. And I'm happy nurses are here because they are taking over. They have more zeal to be successful than most of us. Because as doctors, we think the world owes us. The world doesn't owe us anything. Zero. Right? Yes. I'm sorry if I've hurt you, but I've told you something that will change your life.
No, we cannot be told this we won't hear this anywhere else. This is pure distilled wisdom. There's an intern actually watching from Vihiga online. And Dr. Albert Chebelukot, he's asked me to ask you. Have you guys laughed? They know him. Does he miss attending to patients clinically? And are you more on managerial work, or do you still find time to attend to them? I think you've answered that.
I don't see patients. I miss my cesarean sections more than anything else. Yeah, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so by way of closing remarks, and thank you. I think also I'm really impressed by the quality of questions that were asked. I expected, I don't know what I expected, but great questions from everyone. Yeah, so just now that you have a vibe of who the audience is, and you've told us so many things that we probably wouldn't have had anywhere else, give us your closing remarks.
I'm sorry, I'll have to rush somewhere because I'm being called somewhere. One of my patients has given birth to twins, and I have to be there for them. So yeah, thank you guys very much. If there's anything that encourages me more than anything else is the thirst and desire for information that I've seen today. It's on a Wednesday evening. You'd be watching Netflix in your room, but you've chosen to be here. For me, that is a positive indicator that something different is happening in our colleges. And for that, you need to clap for yourself. I know it's not easy, and a lot of things are working against you, but I want to tell you that if you're determined, you can actually make it. The problem with us is we have a single focus to life. We look at life in a one direction. Have an open mind. During our time, doctors wanted to finish internship, go for masters, become a specialist, and everything else. The ones who decided to do non-clinical things were seen as failures. But that's not the same. It's not the case, right? So have an open mind. A lot of things are changing. Neuroscientists, neurophysicists, cancer care is becoming huge. Explore those things. Because when you have something that the market needs, the market will look for you. But we can't all be ops guys. We can't all be physicians. We can't all be neurosurgeons. We can't all be surgeons. We can't all be plastic surgeons. The problem with this country is we are all copycats. One direction, we all run there. There's a time they were saying we're only 5 neurosurgeons. Poop. Everybody wants to be a neurosurgeon. Then plastic surgery came and all these girls want all these things and all these men want six-pack. And everybody wants to be a plastic surgeon. Right? Stop following one another like sheep. Have your own independent mind and follow what you want to be. And with that, you will never lack. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the best and may God bless you. At this point, I wish to leave.
Please, we just need 5 minutes to have a little thank you for you. So I'll invite Ntusi, who will take us through. Thank you, everyone. Thanks. You've been a wonderful audience. Really appreciate you joining us. And thank you, Doc, really. What can we say? But Ntusi will say.
Good evening, everyone. I think this has been quite a sobering conversation. And why is the question, like why are we actually doing this? We do have a challenge as young medical practitioners in this country, as future medical doctors, future pharmacists, future nurses, and even future dentists. Employment isn't guaranteed. Okay, our competency as well isn't guaranteed. But one thing that we should know is that we are actually the smartest minds in this country congregated here. So in as much as we have chaos awaiting us, I do believe that we can actually tackle it together. It's not going to be easy, you've been honest. It's going to be challenging. But if we put in the good work, it's definitely going to work out in the end. Okay, so I'd really like to thank Dr. Maxwell for taking this time. You've opened up, you've been candid, stepped on a few toes, maybe, but that's the nature of being honest. Yamura as well, thank you. And I'd also like to recognize our 2 leaders. We have President Malit, like our president of the entire UNSA. Please say hi to us. Thank you. Malit. And we also have our very own governor, Ramesh, a true son of the soil. Could you kindly... Yeah. So I'd like to thank my wonderful AMSUN team for setting this up. It's not been easy, but we've done the good work. Endgame, and everyone as well, because I do believe that we could have actually been somewhere else tonight and this evening. We could have been doing other things, but you also it fits that you come here, take time off, listen, learn, reflect, and plan ahead. So I'd like to invite G2, our able Secretary General, to gift Dr. Maxwell. We have a small appreciation gift for you. Thank you. Thank you. Could you just have one photo? Just one photo for posterity. Maybe if we could, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe Malith. I think Malith and Ramesh can take a photo with Dr. Maxwell first. She's the president, so and. I guess now we can take a group photo with everyone. Maybe we can take a group photo. I don't know the best way of like a photo. Maybe with
whoever goes in, that's okay. But some people will be short and it will take longer.
So we take a photo here. Yeah, okay. So we have a kind request. If we could, excuse me, just one moment. If we could kindly gather around so that we have like one good photo for posterity, for memories. Maybe if we could circle around this side, kindly.
And then Malith and everyone who's a leader will go in front. Everyone else can go behind. Whoever fits in, that's okay.